Hi, my name is Stephen Kim of Healthy Expressions. I am a relationship and marriage coach. And so I wanted to, I think the last time I did a webinar was, I think, a month ago. And it's just been really busy, but I wanted to get this out before uh, that it would be getting busier. So this is a free webinar on how, like 15 tips to forge love that endures. So this could be with a significant other, it could be your spouse, but I think these 15 tips would really help you in fostering a better love and connection with the other person. So I'm going to start to share here, um, and I hope you guys can see this. And so just I think I've said this before, is that because of the pandemic, it's forcing couples to be around each other, and you love them, and you really um, love spending time with them, but just this pandemic has caused a lot of stress, caused a lot of, because you're around each other all the time, and it's causing friction. And because the friction, because of issues that you and the other person have had, but you never dealt with it, you never talked about it, you kind of swept it underneath the rug, and now it's coming out, and now it's interfering with your relationship or your marriage. And I really hope that these tips will help you to better your relationship, better your marriage. And so we're going to start with the first one. um, but before we go into our first one, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but being in a serious relationship or being in a marriage, it's very difficult and challenging. And in order to keep maintaining that level of connection and that love, you must work on it every day. And for many couples, they just, I married them, or I'm with them, we've been together for a long time, so I really don't have to work on my relationship. But um, I think over time, we change, people change. And as people change, so do our relationships, for better or for worse. And I think those couples that say that their relationship is getting better, it's because they've been working on it. They've been trying to work on it. The relationships and marriages that have gone worse over time is because both people, both individuals, they are not working on themselves and working on their relationship and marriage every day. So marriage is hard and challenging, and we need to work on it constantly. So we're going to remind you that love is not an emotion, it's a commitment to the other person, not just the good times and fun times, but the challenging times. That's what love is. It is a commitment to the other person, no matter what. And so we're going to look at the 15 tips, and I do hope that these help you. So number one, make your relationship your top priority. It's like I said again, it's hard work. You have to work on it every day. If you let your career or your job, even your kids, if you let that interfere in your marriage, in your relationship, and you forget to maintain it or strengthen it, eventually you're going to have problems. So again, make your relationship your top priority. Second, strengthen your friendship with the other person or your spouse. Hopefully that you are good friends. I think they always say that the best relationships, best marriages start from when it started out in friendship. If you think about it, dating, when you start dating or courting, for those older people, if you date them, you're building a relationship. Of course, there's romance, but there's also, you're trying to build a relationship on friendship. And for those of you who are married, hopefully your spouse is your best friend. That means that you guys are on the same page, that you work together on a lot of issues in your family. You work on your kids together. You work on the responsibilities around the home together, that you work everything out together because of your friendship. So, third, make time for each other. And I tell this to a lot of couples is that you need to have at least 15 minutes every day of quality conversation. Now, you could be, making dinner together or cleaning up together or, you know, uh, doing a common hobby together, like painting or doing a puzzle together. Quality time builds really good conversation, just naturally. And let me say before I forget is that watching TV together, watching Netflix or a show, that's not quality time because you're not interacting, you're talking. You may ask a few questions back and forth. You may just, talk about some themes and some characters that you like, but there isn't really quality conversation while you're watching something together. I advise that you with the other person, your significant other or your marriage or your spouse, that you take some time every day to speak quality conversations with them. Okay. Number four, work out any issues as they arise. I like to say this, and I like to think this, that in the beginning of your relationship, and maybe throughout your relationship or your marriage, that fighting is actually good. Arguing is actually good. And you're probably thinking, what? Because if you do it in a positive, healthy way, and you try to resolve that issue and you talk about it together, that you'll better equip yourself and the other person in arguing. And eventually, you learn how to, when an argument or disagreement arises, that you're able to work on it and to fix it and to find a solution together. But a lot of couples, what they tend to do is sweep things underneath the rug. They don't want to deal with it, even if it's very small. But the better you become in working out problems in your marriage, in your relationship, the better you will become at it. And so there is no perfect couple. There is no perfect, um, argument. And sometimes it does get bad. My also tip is like when both people are getting into an argument or disagreement, that it might be a good time to take about 20 to 30 minutes apart to cool down and then come back and to be able to talk. Because when you get into an argument in reacting to the other person, reacting to what they said, it never ends well. And so what you need to do is maybe cool down, separate, go to your own corner, so to speak. Maybe one person needs to go outside. And then after about 20 to 30 minutes to come back and to discuss the issues, not the feelings and not overreacting or reacting, but talking about what's the issue? How can we fix this together? Number five, and this is a biggie, is that you need to be vulnerable. Um, Share your feelings. I think a lot of men have this issue that they're afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to open up to the other person. And usually because they see that as being weak or as being, real men don't really are vulnerable or open to the other person. I think it's the opposite. When when you become vulnerable and open yourself up to the other person, you are saying, I trust you. And it shows strength. And it shows that we're in this together. But when men fail to be vulnerable to their significant other or their spouse, then they're saying, I don't trust you because I'm afraid you're going to hurt me. And that will not go well in the relationship. There needs to be trust on both sides of the corner. This will also allow to connect on a deeper emotional level, and that's what you want in any relationship, in any marriage. 6, be open and honest about your finances. And you may be thinking, well, what is this is kind of, weird, but if you really think about it, the top 3 arguments in a marriage, one of them is finances, is money. And I usually, when I do premarital counseling or marriage counseling, and I've told couples, do not have separate bank accounts. Have one joint bank account. So both people know how much money is coming in, how much is going out, what you're using it for. That again is an indicator of trust and vulnerability to the other person. But if you're hiding your finances and hiding, what you're making or what you're spending on, if you're doing that, then there's that overlying idea of mistrust, of not being vulnerable, and maybe a habit of hiding things to the other person. You have to be open in your finances to the other person, your significant other and your spouse, to build a better and stronger love in the relationship. Number 7, fight fairly and lovingly. Again, this is challenging for people who have tempers, and I think we all have tempers. And I think it's just certain levels. Some people just, they just blow up instantly. Some people it takes them to get upset. But when you are in an argument, the best thing for you to do is not to react, not to be very emotional. The best strategy is to tell them the fact of what you're feeling. To say, when you said this, when you did that, I felt hurt and angry. Rather than just, spewing whatever comes to your mind when you're emotional, because it makes the argument, makes it worse. That you're able to say, this is what when you said this, when you did this, it really hurt me or it really got me angry. And to explain that to the other person. And for that other person to hear that and to understand, wow, I didn't really mean to hurt you or didn't really mean to do that. I'm sorry. That's how you build love in a relationship. These arguments and fighting fairly and explaining what you're feeling rather than attacking the other person and then telling them how you feel. You should always be able to tell them, this is what you did, or this is what you said, it hurt me or got me upset. Tell them, explain to them that. And I think they'll better react in that conversation. And this connects from, fighting fairly is apologizing. If you're with someone and you have arguments and disagreements, which is normal, but they're not willing to apologize. See, it takes 2 people to make a relationship or marriage great, and it takes 2 people to mess it up. Even when it seems like the one individual in the relationship or marriage seems like they messed up, right? It doesn't help when you say, well, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything, which means that you're perfect, that you don't make mistakes as well. Both people need to not be in the game called chicken, where they're just standing there waiting for the other person to apologize. You need to be the bigger person, the adult, right? To say, even if it wasn't your fault directly, to apologize and say, I'm sorry for yelling or saying something. I apologize, and I want us to, fix this issue. If you're with someone who can't apologize, they need to get some help. Because if they think that they're always right, that's not the case. No one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. And when someone apologizes, and especially if both people in the relationship and the marriage, they apologize, that is a good foundation of being able to work out the issues that they have. The next thing is forgive. Again, if you cannot forgive the other person, then guess what? There's no trust. And I understand, in the couples that I'm working with now, I understand that that person did something very damaging, very hurtful, right? But if I tell the person, if you cannot forgive your spouse or your significant other, then you cannot move forward in this relationship, in this marriage. Because you're saying, I don't trust you. And if there's no trust in the relationship, no trust in the marriage, it's a very shallow and hollow relationship and marriage. You have to forgive. You have to forgive. If you can't, then the relationship, the marriage cannot go forward. The 10th tip on, to foster love in the relationship and marriage is focus on what you love about your partner. I think this is true. Avoid trying to change them. Of course, if they have bad habits, bad things, yeah, I think you should help them to try to get rid of them. But you are attracted to them in the first place. And I think it's better when they decide, okay, I have these negative things and characteristics and qualities about myself. I need to change them. Rather than you trying to guilt them or force them to change. They may change for a short period of time, but then they'll go back. They have to make that determination for themselves to say, I need to change because this is not helpful. This is not good in me. It's not good in my relationship, in my marriage. So keep the positive qualities about them. Adjust as you guys are changing, as your marriage and your relationship is changing over time, and it does. You must adjust with it. Dream together, number 11. Make plans. I think might be a good thing is at the end of every year and to make goals. Okay, so I think there should be 3 to 5 goals that you personally make, that you write down, and then you talk with your significant other, your spouse, to say what are our marriage goals or our family goals for this year. And that person should also share about 3 to 5 of their personal goals for this year and their goals as a couple and as a family. Again, that builds quality communication, that builds trust, that builds unity and being on the same page. So dream together, plan together. Number 12, listen well and validate their feelings. Listening is part of communication. And it takes time. And I'm, working with couples that they think they know each other, but it's only been, 5 to 10 years, but it takes a lifetime to get to know the other person. In order for you to get to know the other person, you must communicate. And part of that is listening to them. And there's something else in listening. When the other person is telling you something, you can listen, but here's another word that you need to remember. Are you hearing them out? So you're listening to their words or idea and stuff, but then as you try to grow your relationship and marriage, you really want to hear what they really mean. Hearing what they really mean. So you listen to them, but also hear what they're really saying. If you do that, you will foster more and more love in your relationship. Number 13, show your love and appreciation each day. I think a lot of times people say, I love you every day. I think if you say this on a consistent basis, I think sometimes it's better than saying I love you is I appreciate you. I appreciate that you're in my life. I appreciate that you do things around the house. I appreciate that you cook. I appreciate you fix things. I appreciate all these things. That verbally, if you acknowledge them, it validates them in your life. It validates and shows them that they're important and special in your life. So show your love and appreciation each day for that other person. Practice self-care. And I say this through this pandemic, that we're all stressed, we're have that cabin fever, we're kind of like, we're hoping and wishing that it goes back to normal. And so like even being around them all the time is not good. So I think, start taking a walk by yourself, or start a new hobby. Because if you stress, guess who you're going to take it out on? You're going to take it on your significant other or your spouse. That's very normal. So rather than blowing up on them because of that added stress in your life, because of this pandemic, find a new hobby. Start taking daily walks. Do something that will make you breathe. Because it's fine that there's an issue that you have with your significant other or spouse and you can work on it. But if there's added stress from your personal issues that you have, that's not fair to the other person. That really is not fair. And so you need to really practice self-care. Learn to just relieve some of the stress. So when you talk with your significant other or your spouse, that you can deal with those specific issues and not everything else in your life and piling on them. That isn't fair. So practice self-care. And 15, always remember that you love them. They're not the enemy. They may seem like it at times because you've been arguing and fighting and all these things, but they're not the enemy. They are your partner, your teammate, your partner in crime, your soulmate. They love you. And maybe for some of you, you're in a difficult time where you've been arguing and fighting a lot. And I guarantee you that's not going to last forever. That could be just a season. That could be just this time, and then eventually it's going to be over. But you have to always remember, even through your fighting and arguments, that they love you and you love them. And don't forget that. So look forward. And again, work on your relationship, work on your marriage. And if you need help, right, that I would love to work with you. I would love to help you as a relationship and marriage coach. And the reality is that maybe you've tried to make that relationship better, but you always come to a wall. Well, I don't like to say guarantees, but I've been working with all these couples, and there's actually been a couple couples that wanted to get a divorce, but after a couple sessions, they both said they really want to stay together and work on the marriage. And that makes me feel so good that I can help couples and marriages to make them not perfect, but healthier, to have a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage. And so what I do is I try to, not only have a session with them once a week, but I try to text them or even call them during the week to see how they're doing. If there's something going on, if they want to talk about that. And so right now, as we're going through this pandemic, if you sense that your relationship is sinking, if your marriage is causing a lot of problems in your life and the other person's life, I would love for you to contact me. I will put my website on, and on my website it has my phone number and email. And there is no relationship, no marriage that if both people want to salvage it, want to work on it, want to better it, that it will eventually become a very healthy relationship or marriage. And so, you know, again, I just want to thank you for watching this webinar. But most importantly, if you need help, um, contact me. I would love to talk to you. You know, I would love to talk to you. It won't cost anything just to talk the first time, just to see what's going on with you, with your spouse, or with your significant other, so that we can start salvaging it and start working on it. There's a couple of couples that I'm working with that there's no like dire need of trouble in their marriage or relationship, but they just want to make it better. And so um, please don't think that you don't need this. I think there are a lot of couples, a lot of um, marriages that need this. And um, let's talk. So again, I hope you have a great day. I hope you again enjoyed this webinar and you can use some of these tips in your relationship and marriage. Again, I'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.